So Kyle Busch went into Vegas, and when he pulled the lever of the one-armed bandit, it came up 7-7 cherry. He did not complete the Vegas sweep, but he put two more victories on his belt. Still never going to be the greatest. We had clean and green in one series, a late race wreck in another series, and a truck race that was pretty much dominated by one man and one man alone. He's Corey, I'm Chris, and this is your C&J Speedway review of Vegas, baby. And as Corey's making goofy faces for you YouTubers, my name is Chris. Welcome back to the C&J Speedway Review. As always, your for fans, by fans of the week that was and the week that will be in the NASCAR Top 3 Series around the world, around the country, and in your living room right now. Across the screen from me is one of the most dirty four-headed human beings I have ever known in the history of my life. He is Corey Huffnagel. Corey, happy Ash Wednesday. How are you doing today?
Well, happy Ash Wednesday to you, Chris. And yes, as you guys can tell, my ash is still on my forehead from today. And also, not only that, it is also the start of 40 days of Lent. So beginning from now until Easter, this is going to be the religious part of the next couple 40 days and 40 nights and everything else and so forth. But honestly, great racing this weekend at Vegas. The truck race, didn't really surprise me as much. The Xfinity race, I thought was a good one. And then the Cup race, that too was also good as well. And especially on Sunday with this new aero package, it really excited me a lot. And like I've said, the last few weeks, I really want to see what this aero package does at every single racetrack this season. And quite frankly, I think we're going to see a lot of exciting racing in 2019.
So far, so good, man. We have gotten some really great races underneath our belts. And hey, the longer we go, the better it's going to get. And we are in week 3 of our tour around the 3 NASCAR Touring Series. But before we talk about any of it, Corey, you have any news?
All right, so as of today, it was announced that the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series Awards Banquet is going to be held in Nashville on Thursday, December 5th. So this is going to be the first time that the Cup Series is going to have their Award Series banquet in Music City. And as you guys know, the Award Series banquet used to be in New York City for a number of years. Then it was in Las Vegas for about, I'd say, almost 9 years or so. And now this is the first time that the awards banquet will be in the Music City. And as for the Gander Outdoor Truck Series and Xfinity Series Award Series banquet, well, they're going to be back in Charlotte at the Convention Center on Friday, November 22nd, along with the regional and international and local series awards banquets on Saturday, November 23rd. And this is probably something that just popped out of my mind not too long ago. So let's say we have the Cup Series award banquet in Nashville in December. And let's say we have a little special surprise, but none other than the track promoters at from the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. They come in and they announce, 2021 Nashville Fairgrounds is going to have the Cup Series, all 3 series, whatever. That's going to be a huge home run if that happens in December. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what the awards banquet can do in Nashville. And not only that, I wonder if they could do those the burnout competitions and then the drive around Nashville. I think it's going to be exciting. I really think, this is a great move, for NASCAR to go back to its roots, and especially to Music City, where honestly, I'd have to say, Nashville is a really good sports market. You got the Tennessee Titans, you got the Nashville Predators, and then also you got Vanderbilt University, which, has college football, basketball, whatever it is. And if NASCAR can make it into this city, I think within the next 2 years, I think it'd be perfect.
It'd be a great, great success for them to get that. I agree with you. And like you said, going back to the roots, NASCAR largely was a Southern sport for years and years and years. The proliferation around the country into markets like Watkins Glen, New York, and New Hampshire, and Las Vegas has been great, and it certainly does provide a lot of action. But moving the awards from New York to Vegas, I never thought was a great idea. There was something special about when those cars came down Times Square, the Championship 10 or whomever. I know the champ would do the talk show circuit, but the other guys go and do the talk show circuit as well. New York's the center of the universe as far as the United States is concerned, but the South is the world center of racing. Yes, I stole that line from Daytona, but let's be honest, a large proliferation of the tracks that we see on this circuit year after year are a lot of southern tracks. It was born there, it's been bred there, and as it grew in popularity, I think NASCAR forgot about its southern roots. So this is a good move for them, and I do like your idea about a potential of an announcement. Hopefully, we all hope that Nashville will get its date coming up in 21 or 22.
It's definitely going to be 21, that's for sure.
You think so?
I believe so, because, like I said, because 2021 is going to be the year of what NASCAR does to the schedule. And like I asked before, are we going to have a short schedule or are we going to have a long schedule? I don't know what 2021 is going to bring, but, hopefully it can bring a lot of new tracks to the venue and definitely some new tracks that deserve a cup race.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing it, but I don't want them to change Christmas or Halloween. Leave Darlington on Labor Day. Leave Daytona as the first race of the year. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. So, without further ado, let's talk truck racing. This past weekend in Vegas, it was the Kyle Busch Show, Part 1. And he goes in there and he just kills it in the truck race. Did you watch this race? Because I listened to it on the headphones.
I believe I did. I saw it from start to finish, and so no surprise, Kyle Busch pretty much dominated Friday night's truck race. He led 110 out of 134 laps. Not only he swept all three stages, but second straight win for the 51 team, and now he is 53 career wins. He is now passed Ron Hornaday on the all-time wins list already, so now he is the new all-time wins leader in the truck series. But I'd probably say in this race on Friday, anytime Kyle Busch is out in front, there's no doubt that, anybody's going to catch him. I don't think anybody would have caught him, from the start of the race to the end of the race. But however, you had one challenger near the end, which was Brett Moffitt, and he could have caught him, and I think he would have passed him for the lead. But there was one part in the race where his front end started to get loose, and then he chased it up the racetrack, and then once he chased it up the track, there was no way he could have catched him after that. But honestly, a dominant performance by this 51 team, and I'd have to say the race in Vegas on Friday night was pretty good.
And from what I heard, there were a couple guys that had a decent shot. I wouldn't say they would have caught Kyle at any particular point in time, but Crafton, Friesen, and Harrison Burton all had pretty good vehicles as well. And you heard their name a lot on the radio feed. But the one name you heard over and over again, they said it was the Kyle Busch Show at one point during the race. There was nobody that was going to stop him. The only one that could have stopped him is Kyle Busch himself. And again, I may not like him, but I'm always going to say, you put that guy on a go-kart and he'll find a way to victory lane. So, good on him for another victory. And I gotta wonder, he's done 2 truck races this year?
Yes.
So he's got a limit of 3 more.
Yep.
Okay, we know there's no truck race this coming weekend in Phoenix, but there will be one in Martinsville. Does he join Martinsville, or does he wait and pick his spot to another track he knows he can just kill?
So the only tracks that he's running so far, the only tracks he's running is going to be Martinsville in March in a couple weeks, and then he's also running Texas the last Friday in March, and then his last race is going to be Charlotte in May.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So, again, we went back to that conversation I heard Rusty Wallace have on PRN last week, is saying, we don't want somebody coming in and stealing all of our thunder and taking opportunities away from us. He's only got 5 chances to do it this year. My question for you and to all you listeners out there, and you can join our Facebook page and leave your answer for us, and we'll read them off next week. Does Kyle Busch win all 5 Truck Series races that he's going to enter this year? And he's 2 for 2 now.
I mean, I do want to say yes, but The only thing that I think he's probably going to have a little trouble on is definitely Martinsville, because we all know that Johnny Sauter is the best when it comes to short track racing, especially when it comes to both Bristol and Martinsville. I mean, Kyle's won only one truck race there before. I'm going to say he's going to win 4 of the 5 races, because if you look at it, I think Martinsville's going to be a little bit tough for him. But however, I think Texas and Charlotte, no brainer. I think he's going to take those 2 wins.
Easily. I'll agree with you on that one. So we'll find out. The real test is going to be in 2 weeks in Martinsville. So without further ado, let's go through the running order. Kyle Busch finishes first, Brett Moffitt second, Matt Crafton third, Stuart Friesen fourth, Harrison Burton came home in 5th place. Sheldon, Please Call Me Apollo for the Rest of My Life Creed came in 6th, Todd Gilliland 7th, Johnny Sauter 8th, Ryan Reed 9th, and Ross Chastain rounded out the top 10. Other notables, you had Grant Enfinger in 11th, Timothy Peters in 12th, Natalie Decker with a 13th place finish, good for her. Austin Wayne Self 15th, Angela Ruck 16th. Going down the list, we find Brennan Poole in 20th, Ben Rhodes a disappointing 25th, and Austin Hill, he of winning the first race of the season, brought home his truck in 30th with a DNF. So right off the bat, man, give me your happy and give me your sad, because I think one's going to surprise and one's not going to surprise for me.
So my happy for this race is definitely going to have to go to Ryan Reed. Ever since being released from Roush Fenway Xfinity team last season, this is a kid that I really wanted to see have potential, like on an Xfinity team or truck team, whatever. But to pull this off with a 9th place finish for Gilliland Crosley Racing, the kid did a pretty good job, and hopefully a deal gets put together for him, and hopefully he can run a couple races for Crosley this year. My sad is definitely going to have to go to Austin Hill. I mean, even though he already won at Daytona a couple weeks ago, yes, I thought, he was going to contend with Kyle Busch, but of course having the engine failure, disappointing run for this team, but I do expect them to be pretty better this season.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to mirror your sad with Austin Hill. I just thought, sad way to go out, especially when you look at the fact he only completed, that's how many points he got. I saw 18. He didn't complete a whole lot of laps before the engine failure, so bad day for him. My happy is going to go to Natalie Decker, 13th place finish after last weekend. The way we said that she really needs to finish in the top half of the field to get a little more confidence and to, not just a morale boost, but this is a confidence builder. This is everything she needs to move up the ladder and move the needle in the right direction. So good for her. I look forward to seeing her in the top 10 as we go on, and maybe even find victory lane. You never know.
Never know.
So we're going to go to the picks real quick, and then we'll go to the points this week at the truck race. Oh, Corey. My man took Kyle Busch as his lock. So, of course, you knew he was going to get number 1 for that. He took Stuart Friesen as his sleeper. He finished 4th. That's a total of 5. Your finish this week is 2.5. Another close week, because I took Brett Moffitt as my lock. He finished 2nd. I took Johnny Sauter as my sleeper. He finished 8th. That's a 10. My finish was a 5. 1 point on the board for Mr. Corey Huffnagel.
All right.
Now we go to the points. Grant Enfinger leads the way with 117 in first. Harrison Burton in second with 111. Austin Hill third with 108. Stuart Friesen is fourth with 103. Brett Moffitt is fifth with 102 and a virtual tie with Johnny Sauter, also with 102 and sixth. Matt Crafton seventh with 96 in a three-way virtual tie with Ben Rhodes in eighth and Todd Gilliland in ninth. And Apollo Sheldon Creed rounds out your top 10 with 91 points, and the other two below them are Todd Peters in 11th and Austin Wayne Self in 12th. I don't necessarily think we're looking at our final championship 8, but I do like the way these 8 drivers look in the top half right now.
I mean, I do too, and you just look at, the drivers that are outside that top 8. I mean, one guy that I really want to see, make a move is definitely Todd Gilliland. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he got criticized by his truck owner, I think after Atlanta, since he wasn't really running that well. And I guess Kyle said in a press conference, he said, you're in a really good team and, your career is on the line. And if you're not going to do that great, there's no chance on keeping you or whatever. And I think that frustrated him quite a bit. And honestly, like, you just look at him last season, he only missed like 3 races because he wasn't old enough. And then, once he started, once his season started at Martinsville about a year ago, just think about it. He could have won Texas if he had to run out of gas like half a lap to go. Then you go to the road course in Canada. He was like about 200 yards from winning the race if his then ex-teammate Noah Gragson, took him out whatsoever. And don't get me wrong, like, I like this kid. I think he's got a lot of talent. I've watched him when he was in the K&M West Series and East Series or whatever. I mean, he's also the son of, who used to be a Cup Series driver back in the day. And I really think if Todd can have some good runs this season, maybe he can earn those top 5s, could possibly get a win so that he could lock himself into the playoffs in September. But I really want to see how Todd Gilliland could do this season. And not only that, I'm also looking at guys outside the top 8. Sheldon Creed is also one of them. I mean, he's also in a really good ride for GMS Racing. And then hopefully Timothy Peters could also make a move as well. And, quite frankly, I mean, those are the only 2 guys, or 3 guys, I should say, that are outside that top 8, are the ones that you should watch for this season.
Mm-hmm. I agree with all of that. So now we move forward. We're going to talk about the Xfinity race. And once again, it's the Kyle Busch show. He leads 98 laps and leaves everybody in the dust, except toward the tail end of the race when it was Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, all battling for real estate. Again, this is all from the radio feed. I didn't see any of this, but boy, I didn't see any racing this weekend. Let's put that on the table. Everything was Radio Jones for me. To hear that battle going on up front, and then the wreck. Tyler Reddick, from what I understand, car mangled. Christopher Bell, big problems. Just consider this. Tyler Reddick is involved in that wreck and comes home with a 14th, even though he was involved in that crash. Pretty good run for him, but still.
Yeah.
Pretty sad. But then the late restart, you had John Hunter Nemechek and Noah Gragson that were just trying in vain. It was. From what I heard, there was no getting near Kyle Busch on the restart in that Xfinity race. Absolutely not.
No, not at all. I mean, I'd probably say, John Hunter Nemechek was also a contender near the end, but, there was guys like Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell. Those were the only 2 guys that would have challenged Kyle Busch right at the end. And then, of course, Brandon Jones, of course, he had a good run until he made contact with the outside wall. But earlier in the race, Kyle Busch had that vibration on the tire, which, of course, that gave him a lap down. And then I think after the second stage or the first stage, he got back on the lead lap and then, fought his way back and then ended up winning the race and so forth. But you know what I just actually kind of thought of? It's funny, that Kyle Busch is working with a new crew chief. And think of this last name, Beshore.
Beshore?
Yeah. So the crew chief for the 18 car for the Xfinity Series is Ben Beshore. And it was funny because I was actually saying this today. So it's kind of like in the movie Elf when Will Ferrell says Francisco.
That's fun to say.
I kind of said it like this. It's like, be sure. Sure.
His uncle had a great singing career. Al B. Shore. If you want to look him up, kids who are under the age of 30, look up Al B. Shore.
Yes.
Yes.
And then not to mention, great run on Saturday for both Kaulig racing team. You had Austin Dillon coming home in 4th, and then Justin Haley coming home in 10th. So, and I have a good feeling. I think, Kaulig Racing, I think this is going to be the surprise team of 2019. And, they had Ryan Truex in their car last year. They've had Blake Cook, for the last 2 years, and that didn't really work out well. But if you have, guys like Ross Chastain and then, of course, Justin Haley, who's running for the championship, and then add some of the Cup guys like Austin Dillon, and then now, which, of course, Kaulig Racing announced that Elliott Sadler is going to be coming out of retirement, but he's only going to be running for 2 races for that race team, which, of course, he's going to be running, I think, Richmond, and then the other one, I think it might have been Texas or something. Or I think it was either Texas or Vegas. But if you could get some of the Cup experience guys, or any of the guys that used to be in the Xfinity Series, run for Kaulig Racing, these guys might get their first win, no question about it.
I don't see why not. Matthew Kaulig is putting together a great program with his race team. And again, having Austin Dillon do quite well, and I know he's not running a full-time schedule, when you go down the list and you see that Justin Haley, who is running a more pronounced schedule on the series, I believe he's full-time this year, correct?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, so Matthew Kaulig is really focusing on youth and development. And that's what you need. And I really truly believe that, these two series, the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, should be the building block of tomorrow. And the way it looks, man, I looked through this top 10 real quick, with the exception of Kyle Busch, no old guys. And I'm not saying that to be rude to the old guys. I'm saying it's Kyle Busch, and then you have 2 through running down the list to see someone older than 35, which you really don't see until you get down to Jeff Green. Maybe Justin Allgaier. I think Justin Allgaier is in his 30s.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a youth movement, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
but you're right. Too. Look out for Matthew Kaulig's team going forward. Guys, you heard it here first. And if you like what you hear, go sign on to anchor.fm/CJ Speedway Review. That's our online home base, other than Facebook, other than Twitter, all the places that Corey tells you about at the end of the show. This is where you can leave reviews, make donations, and just generally help the show out any way you can. Please do what you got to do. That's anchor.fm/CJ Speedway Review. Now we go to the finishing order, the picks, and the points. Of course, it's Kyle Busch show, guys. First again on Saturday, John Hunter Nemechek came home second, Noah Gragson third, Austin Dillon fourth, Michael Annett fifth, Ryan Sieg was sixth, Ross Chastain seventh, Chase Briscoe eighth, Cole Custer ninth, and Justin Haley rounded out the top 10. Your other notables: Christopher Bell 13th, Tyler Reddick 14th. They were involved in that late race dust-up. Going down the list, you have our most hated driver, BJ McLeod, in 20th, Austin Cindric 22nd, Timmy Hill 23rd. Going down the list again, Justin Allgaier, disappointing 31st. Jeff Green does not bring up the tail end of the race for the second week in a row. This a 32nd place finish. And Joey Gase, unfortunately, very early crash in 38th. So I'll go with my happy and sad first on this one. My happy is going to go to John Hunter Nemechek. Second place finish, ran great. Of course, he was the benefactor of that late race crash, able to get through it and come home with a second. But he was running in the top 10 just before that dust-up. I think it was a great day for him, and I have no complaints. It would be easy to pick Kyle Busch. I think even you wouldn't pick Kyle Busch at this point. I got a double sad, and it goes to Christopher Bell and Tyler Reddick. Again, just bad luck on those two. Once they started playing peekaboo with each other on the racetrack, it was spelling nothing but disaster going forward.
Yeah, see, my happy, I'm going to go with Michael Annett. After winning the race at Daytona, backs up with a top 5, and really good run for this race team. I really want to see a lot more out of him this season, but great run for the number 1. My sad, I'm definitely going to have to go to Justin Allgaier. I really wanted to see him challenge Kyle Busch in this race on Saturday. Had the engine failure, disappointing 31st, but I'm hoping that, Justin Allgaier can have a successful season like he did last year, and hopefully he can be in that championship war in November.
I don't think you have a whole lot to worry about with Justin Allgaier. This is just a blip on the radar for him. He had a lot of success last year. I don't think he had a lot of disappointment, but this is the biggest one that I can think of in the last 2 years. He'll bounce back. No worries.
Yeah.
All right, so on to the picks. Corey, once again, took Kyle Busch as his lock. He finishes first. Yeah, even Corey's yawning right now. But he took Brandon Jones as his sleeper. He finished 28th. That's a finish of 29th. So your finish this week is 14.5. I took Christopher Bell as my lock. He finished 13th. I took Noah Gragson as my sleeper. He finished 3rd, a finish of 16, which translates to an 8th finish. 2 points on the board for the Jabroni Man. Yay, me. And now on to the points that matter in the Xfinity Series. Christopher Bell leads the way in first with 139. Cole Custer second with 121 in a virtual tie with Tyler Reddick in third with also 121. Brandon Jones, 4th with 117. Mike Lynette, 5th with 111. John Hunter Nemechek, 6th with 107. Justin Allgaier, 7th with 96. In another three-way virtual tie, this time with Ryan Sieg, 96 and 8th, and Ross Chastain, 9th with 96. Noah Gragson, 10th with 94, in a virtual tie with Austin Cindric, 11th with 94. Justin Haley, 12th, 89. Chase Briscoe, 13th, 81. Jeffrey Earnhardt, my boy, 14th with 76. And that's where I'm going to end it with those 14. I know that 12 make the cut on this series. Again, a lot of room to move, especially with 3 drivers tied from 7th to 9th. And the point differential from Jeffrey Earnhardt to the cutoff for the Truck Series is only 13 points, which is 12th, Justin Haley. If you had to give a 1 through 10, 10 being he'll make it, 1 being not a chance. Chances of Jeffrey Earnhardt finding his way into the championship 12 on the Xfinity Series.
I'm probably going to say maybe a 7.
I was going to give it a 6 or a 7 myself. Again, he needed a couple of good runs. He's had a couple of good runs. This weekend, I'm trying to look through. Did I find his name? Did I even say his name? Did he even run?
No, he's not. No, he's not. He didn't run this weekend.
You schmucks.
Because he's in the 18 car for part-time schedule.
He's in detention. That's what he is. All right, so moving right along. Clean and green for the first time in 6 years on the Cup Series. Las Vegas Motor Speedway was the first clean and green race since Talladega some years ago. Beginning to end, all green flag racing, but in stage racing, you get the cautions for the end of the stage. That doesn't count in the caution flag count. So it's clean and green all the way through. And at the end, with a strong late race run, Connecticut's own champion, Joey Logano, comes home with the hardware. Again, another race I listened to on the radio. I did hear a lot of moving and shaking up front. You heard names like Logano, Keselowski, both Busch brothers, Kevin Harvick, at different times, Martin Truex Jr. This was, again, the new aero package and everything that's going along with it was fantastic. And without getting into the here's and the where's of who led and who did this and who did that, I want to ask you about the penalties that were levied to Larson and Austin Dillon during the race. I had to watch the replays to find out what exactly happened. And when I saw it, I'm just like, are you kidding? One guy, because he had his hand on the concrete, and another guy tumbles over the wall accidentally, and we're going to penalize them for it? NASCAR, what kind of big chiba were you smoking before this race?
See, that's kind of the funny thing I want to talk about as well. And I look back at the Kyle Larson penalty, like it just made me laugh because like I kind of thought to myself, okay, so if you have those guys, changing the tires, fuel, and whatever, and if you have one pit guy that touches his hand on the pit wall concrete, that's a penalty. And I'm like, how is that even a penalty if the guy's just touching his hand on the concrete, which doesn't really make any sense. And then of course, the Austin Dillon penalty, which of course the guy accidentally tumbled over. It's just pretty much like, okay, so if a guy tumbles over by accident, that's a penalty. So, but I don't know. I think it was kind of a little bit of a hoopla mistake that NASCAR made. And I'm just kind of saying this on my opinion, but I still remember the one time, this was like 2 years ago, Matt Kenseth was having like a pit stop or something. And so just when you thought everything was fine, next thing you know, boom, he gets penalized for improper fueling. So then I thought to myself, wait a minute, improper fueling, like I haven't heard that before. So I think what that is the gas man is fueling up the car, whatever, and the penalty is that if the gas man's fueling the car and if he touches like a tool or something that he puts it on like the rear deck lid or whatever it is, then that's your penalty for improper fueling. And then as a result, Ken's just like, oh, why are we getting the black flag and so forth? And, and they said, well, you're being penalized for 5 laps for, improper fueling and then not obeying the penalties, so forth and this. And he's like, wait, what? And then, I mean, just think about it. There's been times where, NASCAR has issued some penalties on drivers that, they made a mistake and And, this even goes back to the time where, of course, when NASCAR before, they had the timing and scoring, they'd have the scoring things all screwed up. And then that's what happened in North Wilkesboro back in like 1990 or so forth when Brett Bodine ended up winning the race that year. NASCAR said, "Oh, we screwed up on the timing and scoring because, that was when, there was a caution that came out, and just as when everybody was cycling through their green flag pit stops, that was when NASCAR asked, okay, so who was the leader when the caution came out? Everybody thought, well, it was Dale Earnhardt. No, it was Brett Bodine and everything is else and so forth. But I would say that penalty after Sunday, I think that was a mistake that NASCAR made. And I think if you kind of look at it properly, I think that's something that, they shouldn't have done. But, honestly, I could just say things like that, they happen like once in a year, but for that, I think it's kind of a hoopla.
For again, going back to those penalties, is you have the Austin Dillon crew member tumbling over the wall accidentally. He didn't cross the wall to give them an unfair advantage. He didn't cross the wall to shave an extra 2 seconds off the pit stop. He fell.
Yeah.
Okay? He fell. In my mind, not a penalty. Now, I'm not quite sure why the Larson team member had his hand over the wall on the concrete, but he wasn't over the wall. Think about it.
Right.
Over the wall would mean, like, yes, let's go to the Austin Dillon crew member who tumbled over the wall in an accident. That's over the wall. But he wasn't doing anything to improve the position of the 42, or in the case of Austin Dillon, the 3. These were accidents. NASCAR really needs to look and take a deep, hard look about how they're assessing these penalties, because what's next? We had all the lug nut BS last year. I get it. Unsecured lug nut. It's not like they purposely are not securing lug nuts so the tire will fall off and their driver will hit the wall and cause $40,000 in damage to the race car. That's not what they're doing. People make mistakes. I get it. But these two people did not have control to, one, the crew member of Austin Dillon falling over the wall. Couldn't help it. The guy with his hand over the wall in the Larson team, yeah, he could have helped it, but he still wasn't over the wall. And that's what the penalty reads. Too many men over the wall. I think both of them were ridiculous penalties. And it could have made a difference when you look at the finishing order, which we're going to do in a minute. You have Kyle Larson, who came home 12th after the penalty, and Austin Dillon 20th. Larson did have a pretty good car, had a shot at winning this race, but then the bad penalty. I don't understand what they were thinking, but the officials need to seriously rethink their position, because I could see if they were doing chicanery, going over the wall. Hey, let's see if we can sneak an extra guy over the wall and change the tire quicker. We can get 3 seconds out of this pit box. That is a penalty. Falling is not. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the finishing order and then the picks and then the points on the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, which somehow I lost the points. Here they are. Okay. So anyway, it's no surprise. Champion Jones. His name is Joey Logano. He finishes first. Brad Keselowski second. Kyle Busch comes home in third. So close to that sweep. And for about a minute, I thought to myself toward the end of this race as I'm listening to it on the radio, it would be interesting because Kyle Busch has done a couple of these weekend sweeps in his career.
Yeah.
It might be cool to see it or hear it or experience it. But then as, the Harvicks and the Keselowskis and the Loganos are making those late charges, I thought back to last year. Yes, even as a Kevin Harvick fan and, 8-point races, you got the All-Star race, which I'm wearing the commemorative t-shirt now, 9 total victories last year. After a while, to see Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick basically take half of the season in victories, time to let some new blood up front. Not let them, but battle for it. Get up there and do it yourselves. So it's good to see some fresh faces, if you will, who didn't dominate the year last year, be up front. So I still tip my hat to Kyle Busch. First, and third. What a great weekend. Moving on.
Yeah.
The number 4 car came in 4th. That's Kevin Harvick. Kurt Busch came in 5th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 6th. Eric Almirola 7th. Martin Truex Jr. 8th. Chase Elliott 9th. And Denny Hamlin rounded out the top 10. Your other notables, Kyle Larson 12th. Clint Bowyer 14th. Paul Menard 15th. Jimmy Johnson 19th. Austin Dillon, 20th. Matt DiBenedetto, 21st. Daniel Hemrick, 23rd. Ryan Newman, 24th. Bubba Wallace, 26th. Moving on down the line, I don't see too many big names, so we'll just pick out 3. Parker Kligerman came in 31st. We have Reed Sorensen, 36th, and the most hated driver on the NASCAR circuit, if you're from the Northeast, BJ McLeod, came in 37th. Still angry. Still angry.
Yeah.
You're 8 pit stalls away. Never mind. Anyway, so let's get a happy and sad out of Corey real quick.
All right, so my happy, I'm going to have to go with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. coming home in the top 10. Really good run for the 17 team. I know that the Fords, they were great last year, except for the Roush Fenway guys, but definitely I really want to see a lot more out of this team, and I know that Stenhouse won at Daytona and Talladega a few years ago, but I really want to see him run really good at all the other tracks this season. My sad for this one, I'm going to have to go with, I'm going to say, I'm going to have to go with pretty much Jimmie Johnson on this one, finishing 19th. And still, I mean, he hasn't won a points race yet, but, hopefully, the 48 team can get a win this season.
I don't know if you guys can see this on YouTube, but I always have my happies and sads written out before Corey does his. Same, right here. Same, and for the same reasons. There's got to come a time for Jimmie Johnson. There has to come a time, or as much as we tinkered with the idea last year, maybe he really is done. He's got the new crew chief, he's got the new sponsor. The only thing not new is the ownership, but something is missing. They have to find what is missing that is going to make Jimmie Johnson basically Jimmie Johnson again. To your point on Ricky Stenhouse, the Fords have been great all year. When you look at the top 10 of this race, 5 out of the top 10, all Fords. You also had the Chevrolet of Kurt Busch and the Chevrolet of Chase Elliott, and then you had Toyotas of Hamlin, Truex, and Kurt Busch. So it really is Ford, this Mustang, the whole shebang is working. And I couldn't be prouder to be Team Ford this year as I was last year. Doesn't matter. They could put a Fiat underneath Kevin Harvick, and I'm going to root for him. But that's not the point. The point is, clean and green, I was very impressed with that whole scenario of just no problems. No problems. They ran this race like they should run every race. Nobody's playing peekaboo. May the best car win. Let's go do it.
Yeah.
All right, so now to the picks. And I will start with Corey. He took Kyle Larson as his lock. He finished 12th. He took Daniel Suarez as his sleeper. He finished 17th. And he took Paul Menard as his hopeful. He finished 15th. I'm pretty sure Corey was drunk when we recorded last week because that's a total of 44. And if you divide that by 3, Corey, you're in the top half of the field. It's a 14.6. I took Kyle Busch as my lock because Corey took the other 2 races. He finished 3rd. I took Kurt Busch as my sleeper. He finished 5th. I took Kevin Harvick as my hopeful. He finished 4th. That's a 12. You divide that by 3. It's a finish of 4. 3 points on the board for me. And now for the up-to-date yearly standings. As of right now, through Las Vegas, the score is 11-7. And for the first time this year, I have the advantage in the point standings. Now, this week is going to be different because we only have 2 series running this week. So you're only going to get the 3 points for the Cup race and the 2 points for the Xfinity race. But points are just as valuable no matter where you go, when you get them, or how you get them.
Right.
Quickly going to the standings before we break down the upcoming weekend at Phoenix. Joey Logano leads the way in first with 133. The first member of the big 3 in the top 10 is Kevin Harvick. He's in second with 131. Denny Hamlin third with 127. Big 3 number 2, Kyle Busch is in fourth with 121. Brad Keselowski fifth with 115. Kyle Larson sixth with 102. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. seventh with 99. Big 3 number 3, Martin Truex Jr. in 8th with 98 in a virtual tie with Eric Jones, who is in 9th with 98. Kurt Busch 10th with 95. Eric Almirola 11th with 92. Alex Bowman 12th with 85. Clint Bowyer 13th with 83. Chase Elliott 14th with 81. Ryan Blaney in 15th with 69. And your cutoff is William Byron in 16th with 66. The next 4 guys down, I'll always have a chance. But here we go. Think about this. We said it a lot last year. Outside of the 16 main event players is Jimmie Johnson in 17th with 65. Daniel Suarez is in 18th with 63. Ryan Newman 19th with 62. And Paul Menard in 20th with 61. Now, unlike the other 2 series, Corey, the differentiation between the cutoff at 16 and, say, 10th of Kurt Busch is more than 30 points. That's a big drop-off.
Yeah.
Now think about this. I don't want to say the bottom 2, but if you're only looking at the 16, which is the number of vehicles and drivers that are going to go to the championship playoffs, you have William Byron and Ryan Blaney with 69 and 66 respectively. That's only a 12-point difference from 14th. But again, a win changes everything for these guys. I'm going to call them the outside 4. I'm not going to disparage them and say the bottom 4. I'm not going to say anything bad. Johnson, Suarez, Newman, Menard. One of them's going to make it. One of them isn't. We're going to play what if. Who makes the championship 16 and who does not?
So pretty much bottom 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'd say any driver outside the bottom 4 that has a good shot at making the playoffs. And this one's probably going to surprise some people, but I want to see what Daniel Suarez can do in that 41 team.
Mm-hmm. Good call. I have Paul Menard making it. He's got my little arrow. Now, who is not going to make the round of 16?
I'm going to have to say, I mean, as much as I really want to see Paul Menard make it, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, his only chances of winning a race would have to be on the super speedways, but anywhere else, I mean, he's normally a hit or miss, whenever he goes to the 1.5 miles and the 2 miles. But I would have to say, Menard would probably miss it by maybe a point or so.
I don't know. He won at Indianapolis. That's not the easiest track in the world to win on.
Right. I mean, that's his only win back a couple of years ago, and quite frankly, I think he kind of has an outside shot, winning there too. But like I said, I mean, it's we have now until September, and anything can change, between these guys. So we just have to wait and see.
All right. Well, my downward arrow, unfortunately, unless something drastically changes, I know, guys. You heard it last year. You're going to hear it again this year. If something doesn't change for that 48 team, they're on the outside looking in. I got Jimmie Johnson with my downward arrow. And that's not a knock or a disparagement on Jimmie Johnson. It's just, let's look at the body of work since Daytona of 2018 and today. There's not a lot of good. Mostly middle of the road and bad. And it sucks. When a 7-time champion won 5 straight is on the outside looking in, it's a big problem. What are you doing? You're not even talking right now.
No, that was me. I was a little bit off focus, but
well, that's why we hired you, to be focused. Come on.
Yes.
All right, so now we move to Phoenix, Arizona this weekend, the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. Starting with the Xfinity Series, Corey, tell them how, when, where, and why.
So let's see. Saturday we have the Xfinity race at ISM Raceway / Phoenix, 4:00 Eastern time on FS1, and then of course Sirius XM satellite radio channel 90, which of course you have the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR this week. I couldn't keep that one with a straight face, but
I can tell.
Anywho. Before I read off the entry list, so I want to quickly point out, Kyle Busch is the only Cup driver that's going to be running in the Xfinity race on Saturday. I don't see any other Cup drivers besides Mr. Busch himself. But looking at all the other guys, you have Cole Custer, you have Stephen Light, Michael Annett, Tyler Reddick, Ross Chastain, Ray Black Jr., Justin Allgaier, Ryan Truex, Greg Alding, Noah Gragson, Justin Haley, Brandon Jones, Christopher Bell, Austin Cindric, John Hunter Nemechek, Ryan Sieg, Chad Fincham, Jeremy Clements, David Starr, And looking down on the list, I see Ronnie Bassett Jr. making his Xfinity Series debut. Formerly a guy that was in the K&N E-Series for a number of years, or actually for 2 years or so. And last but not least, we have the 98 of Chase Briscoe.
Yay! You said Kyle Busch is running this race?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm not going to look like a moron again. Good. So why don't you give me your lock and give me your sleeper?
So my lock for this weekend, I know that this is the second time ISF Raceway has that whole renovation change and the whole start-finish line at the start of the dog leg. So I kind of took a name out of the hat, and I want to say my lock for this weekend, I'm going to go with Justin Allgaier. I really want to see, how this team does this weekend. And I think last November, they were in the hunt, to win a race. Actually, they were in the hunt of winning last year until they got taken out by John Hunter Nemechek. So I think this is going to be one guy that that knows how to drive this track really well, and I think with Allgaier, I think he's going to be a one to watch. My sleeper for this, I'm going to have to say Tyler Reddick. I mean, he's had some good runs the last 2 weeks, and getting closer to that first win, after winning the championship last season, and this is also going to be another race where Reddick, is one of those guys that knows how to drive a really good racetrack, in a loose race car as well. So Reddick, I do think he's going to be a one to watch for my sleeper.
All right. Well, I went in a different direction. I kind of went the Corey route this week. I'm taking Kyle Busch as my lock. Again, 4 wheels, a steering wheel, a heartbeat, and a bottle of Gatorade, and this guy wins the race. It's that simple. My sleeper, he's run well. I'm going to go with momentum. I talk too much about that, but it's going to make sense. Cole Custer is going to be my sleeper. I actually see good things for him this weekend. I shook the Magic 8 Ball. I did the tarot cards. I read the tea leaves, and they all said the same thing, Cole Custer. So I'm going to go with that.
Okay.
All right. So now moving on. Sunday, 3:30 p.m. Tell them about it.
So Sunday you have the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Ticket Guardian 500 at ISM, 3:30 Eastern Time on Fox. And then, of course, you have Sirius XM NASCAR Radio Channel 90, which, of course, you have the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Yeah, the voice of NASCAR.
Okay.
They need to change their name. They really do. Because we are the voice of NASCAR.
That is true.
MRN can kiss a butt.
So, let's see. Looking at the entry list, so same as usual, you have Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, Austin Dillon, Kevin Harvick, Ryan Newman, Daniel Hemrick, Chase Elliott, Eric Almirola, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Ty Dillon, Clint Boyer, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Eric Jones, Paul Menard, Joey Logano, William Byron, Corey LaJoie, Michael McDowell, Matt Tiff, Chris Buescher, David Reagan, Daniel Suarez, Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Preece, Jimmy Johnson, Alex Bowman, and then Matt DiBenedetto.
Okay, so why don't you go ahead and start? Give a lock and a sleep. And a hopeful, don't forget, it's the Cup Series.
That's right. So my lock for this weekend, this one's going to be a little bit of a tough one because, like I said, with the new reconfigurations, we didn't really know what to expect from last year in November. But so my lock, I'm gonna have to go with none other than I'm gonna have to go with the 18 of Kyle Busch. I mean, he won this race last year under the new reconfiguration, and no surprise, I think he can get it done this weekend. My sleeper, I'm gonna have to go with Chase Elliott. I mean, he was in a really good contention of finishing in the top 5 last year, and then he got taken out, which costed him his chance of going to the championship 4. And then, of course, my hopeful for this one, I'm gonna have to say, let's see, I'm gonna have to say Daniel Suarez. I really want to see what that 41 team can do on Sunday, and hopefully this team can bring a lot of momentum in the Phoenix.
Good choices, all of them. Now, guys, I really want you to pay attention. This is going to come as a shock to you. But at Phoenix, as my lock, I'm taking Kevin Harvick. the Desert Dominator. There was nowhere else to go. I thought about it over and over again. And yes, Kyle Busch did come up in my research. By the way, you have a week, or actually you have 3 days after the race ends and we do this on Wednesday. You should have these picks all ready to go. You're killing me. You're falling off. I don't care. It's all in fun. There was no one else I could pick. But the sleeper and the hopeful, the sleeper is going to be Ryan Newman. There's a guy who really runs well at Phoenix each and every time out. He's not a name you hear a lot each week anymore, but when they go to Phoenix or even when they go to Miami, you hear Ryan Newman's name over and over again. So that's why I'm going to take Newman. My hopeful is someone who needs a good week to bounce back from a couple bad weeks. I'm taking Kyle Larson. Needs a really good week just to maybe get back some of that swagger, some of that mojo, some of that Kyle Larson-ness. Plus, it might wash the taste out of the Hendrick Motorsports cheats BS that he went through last week. So, let's hope for a big week for Kyle. Now, before we have Corey pimp, plug, and otherwise push things that you guys need to hear about, we're going to mention anchor.fm/CJ Speedway Review one more time. Again, this is one of our many online arms, but it's the most important one. Go find us. That's our spot. You can donate to the show, leave reviews, do what you have to do, but definitely use that address. That's anchor.fm/CJ Speedway Review. And do it now. As soon as you're done listening, as soon as you're done listening or watching the show. Now comes the point where I say, Corey, do you have anything to pimp, plug, or otherwise push upon the people?
All right, so keep following us on the C&J Speedway Review. We are on Instagram, we are at CJ Speedway, and then Twitter, we are at CJ_Speedway. Excuse me. Let's see. Facebook, search us up, make sure you join our page. Let's see. YouTube, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, you'll get notifications on when we go live, and of course, when we post our videos up on YouTube. And if you know anybody who is a NASCAR fan, please tell them about our show. They won't be disappointed. We're a 1-hour show about racing, and it gets very interesting, every Wednesday night and so forth. And then, of course, keep following me as the Rowdy Burns go-kart racer himself. So I posted up my Twitter name, which is at Rowdy51Racer. So that's only on Twitter. Everything else on Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat and all that stuff. I already mentioned those for the last few weeks, and hopefully you guys remembered and so forth. And then also, not only that, Saturday I'm going to be down at Apex Entertainment Center in Marlboro racing for a little bit of the St. Patrick's Day Grand Prix, and I got a few friends that are going to be racing, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I haven't been go-karting in 2 months, and I really need to get back out there, or else I'll probably be a little bit rusty. But anywho, it's going to be a lot of fun this weekend. I can't wait, and I'm really excited, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, good luck this weekend as you go forward. I don't have the fancy Dan gimmicks at the bottom like Corey does, but you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at cburns19. There's also my email address at Gmail. If you want to email me in regard to the show, just make sure you put something in the message box about the Speedway Review so I don't just delete you and think you are spam. Once again, the Facebook page, we're going to have a poll up later this week. I have not yet decided what the question of the week is, but we will have the results for next week's show. And I'm going to try to make these fun. The more interaction we get from you guys, the better it is. Going forward, also go find our other shows in the Focus Digital Network, the Loki and Jabroni Show, Tuesday nights on YouTube, downloadable and audio-only formats, generally on Thursdays. Also, the Basement Quest, which is Loki's venture into video games and RPGs. He has his show. He's working on a brand new episode. Hopefully that'll be up before you know it. And of course, My Journey with Music, episode number 2 is in the can and waiting to be uploaded into your ears to have a good time. So, having said that, once again, Corey, you have failed. Chelsea, he kind of loves you a little bit. I'm not quite sure how much, but he fails to mention you 2 weeks in a row. I'm really starting to think, Corey, that you're falling off on me.
Well, all I can just say is, Chelsea, I love you, and
there we go.
I know she's a big fan of the show, and I know she She knows that I say, Chelsea, I love you. But
Well, I do have to ask because when you guys came down and we did the flag-to-flag coverage of the Ford EcoBoost 400 from Miami, right there at the Azarju Mini Mansion. Hello, Mark, wherever you are. Did she ever put the bumper sticker on her car?
not yet, but it's still in a room.
Oh man, somebody's going to get fired. Not only sued for gimmick infringement, but fired.
Right.
All right. Anyway, so Corey, it's going to be a great weekend of racing. Again, I will be Radio Jones this weekend, so everything I have to offer for this weekend of racing will be through headsets. So hopefully it'll be another great weekend to listen to racing. I'm going to miss the first half of the Phoenix race. I'll be home in time for the second half, so hopefully I'll see the finish, minimally.
Yes.
So, by the way, I got to mention, if you live in the southeastern Connecticut area, I'm going to the game. Hopefully you guys will too. The charity hockey game at the Norwich, Connecticut ice rink. Guns and hoses. It is the police department hockey team versus the fire department hockey team. All the proceeds go to charity. It is a great event. I will be there. I will be in my Zdeno Chara jersey, which, by the way, Chelsea wins, you lose. Nobody wears a Tuukka Rask jersey. Not even Tuukka Rask's mom wears a Tuukka Rask jersey. She has a Tim Thomas jersey. That's what she has. But
yeah.
Chelsea wins for best jersey of the night. Hope you guys enjoyed the game the other night.
We did. It was a great game, and even though we won 1-0, still, I'd have to say Tuukka made a lot of saves. No question about it.
He's pretty good, and if they don't ask how you won, they ask if you won. Do we got a real shot this year at another cup, or are we peeing in the wind?
I haven't really watched a lot of hockey lately, and I haven't really watched a lot of the Bruins, but according to some of my friends, they said that, they've won, I think X amount of games in a row or something like that, and they said that if we keep this momentum up, I think we got a good shot at going to the Stanley Cup final, but I just say to myself, let's just wait until the playoffs start and then, find out who we face, and and if we could beat any of those guys in the Cup playoffs, I think we got a good shot.
Just get through our division. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the Cup until you get there. But having said that, glad you enjoyed the game. And now, with the most famous two words in C&J Speedway Review history, I throw it to Corey Huffnagel.
Good night.